Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome back to our watch club for Marvel Television's Agatha All Along. Let's go find Tommy. Welcome back to Watch Club. My name is Nate, and this is our Witch Club for Agatha All Along, the finale, episodes 8 and 9. Follow me, my friend, to glory at the end, and Maiden Mother Crone, both directed by Ganja Montero. If you're joining us for the first time, this is Watch Club, our weekly review series. It's kind of like a book club, except, and trust me, a lot of people have told me this, it's way better. Keep in mind, it's kind of sounded Trump there. A lot of people told me it's way better. Keep in mind, we will be going into full spoilers for this series and the MCU in general. So if you haven't watched these episodes yet, these final episodes, be sure to do so, and then come right back in a snap. Now, before we all make out with death, let me introduce you to my lovely coven joining me this evening. First up, he's a journeyman journalist whose bad juju will put a jinx on you. He's Justin, the jack-o'-lantern loathing Lawrence.
It's the end of the road, witches. You ready for this? We made it.
You going to put your shoes back on?
My shoes are already back on.
Please?
Yes. No, please. I don't got like
stinks,
stinky
dude.
feet like you, bro. You got like those hobbit feet. The sweat gets in there. And
I think we've talked about hobbit feet on this podcast before.
Yes.
And we
Yes,
know
we
who's
have.
got the hobbit feet, let's be honest. But listen, when she calls you coward, hit the deck. She's my auror from another morer. She's Megan, the magical, mystical Maximoff morning charm-chanting Chambers.
Wow. Did you add anything to that? That felt like more than normal.
I ran out of breath. I ran out of breath for sure. And lastly, is that a witch's brew I smell? Or maybe a musty robe? No, wait, it's a ghost! It's the dastardly, divinating demigod Darcy, the hypnotic Halloween haunting Hudson.
I don't know how to respond to that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Welcome back. Coming through a cloud of fog or smoke there. Welcome back to our Witch Club. How are you doing, Darcy?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy October, so I couldn't talk about this as much as I wanted to, but I'm glad to be here for the end.
I'm glad to have you here at the end.
For glory, exactly.
Oh, for so much glory, dude. We've made it to the end of the road, which we learned was a circle and maybe not even a road at all.
It was the Mines Road, bro.
You know?
The Mines Road.
But it's all about the coven we made along the way. Before we dive into these episodes, we have a lot to talk about, but I'm like, listen, let's just make this podcast even longer.
Yeah, why are we
Happy Halloween, everyone. How did I want to know though, how did your Halloween go? Did you folks celebrate Halloween? Darcy, I know I saw some really cute pictures with you and the Fam Jam.
Yeah, I mean, that was a few weeks ago. We did the family photo shoot, all of us dressing up as Toy Story characters centered around my niece's Jessie. So that was a lot of fun. Then we also, again, every year, Kevin and his wife love to do a little haunted driveway. So their collection of Spirit Halloween animatronics grows, and the amount of hands required to set it all up and tear it all down in one day grows even more. So, yeah, it was a full day of setting up and then tearing down a Halloween decoration smorgasbord, which is always a lot of fun.
It's incredibly impressive every year. I didn't get a chance to see it this year, but Justin, I know you did.
Yes, I did.
You checked out the scary Hudson's house.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of real estate, but they do the best they can with what they got, and it still is effective. Like
awesome.
Apparently their neighbor across the street came over. The first thing he said was,
"Yeah,
oh, much better than last year." And it's
oh
like,
my God,
that's the sort of feedback you need. I said it to them. I said, "This is a lot better. I think there's a better use of space."
That's what they want to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I always like coming there and being able to like talk with Darcy and Kevin and come up with ideas for next year and stuff like that, and little things to like just make it.
Maybe add a witch's road next year.
Oh, there you go.
We do have a little pathway through a graveyard, usually covered and strewn with leaves. But I think the funniest thing about the whole thing is Kevin, back in the beginning of the month, was measuring areas at the driveway, and the neighbor across the street is like, "Are you measuring for Halloween?" And it's like Kevin's like, "Yeah." It's like it's September 20th. It's a bit early, man. Kevin's like, we gotta plan this out
that's
properly.
Not that bad.
Like,
that's actually
Well, especially because they got to buy. We have to buy new animatronics. Where can we fit these guys? And they've added to their collection with 2 really cool ones this year that scare the crap out of me every time I walk by them. When they all turn on, it's not fun walking around.
Oh my god, I would probably hate it so much.
If I was a kid, I'd be avoiding this house trick or
treating.
Justin, you have a kid. Did you take her trick or treating?
I did. It was her first time trick or treating. It was quite the
What
experience.
was she dressed up as?
She was dressed up as Bluey, of course.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. She wasn't really feeling it. Like the entire time she was just like, "No, I'm not wearing that. Oh, no." And then I don't know. Angie was able to get her in it somehow, and then we did the thing. We walked up and down the street, and she was just so happy with her basket, kept holding it up, and was just like, really excited. Couldn't pry it from her hands when I put her in the car. Because we went downtown. We went to Toronto to do it to trick or treat in my sister-in-law's neighborhood, and with her cousins. So it was like a lot of kids. I'm like, oh jeez, I would rather this be just me, Angie, me, my wife, and Ellie and my daughter. Just like, let's go, let's just do this. It's a lot more fun, and you can come up with a strategy. The whole like doing it with like a bunch of kids from the block, and or they all go to school together and stuff like that was mayhem. Kids are just running up to the houses. Like, I'm just like, where are the manners and the rules? Like,
not on Halloween.
No, they just want that candy.
Yeah.
They were pushing through. I'm like standing there with Ellie, and I'm like, yo, what is up?
And they were going too quick because like we had multiple bowls of candy that we were going to grab a little bit and put in the thing, grab a little bit more, put it in the thing. I like handed out maybe like 2 pop, like little like rocket pops or whatever they're called. I don't know what those are called. And they meant to grab more, and they were already gone. And I'm just like, well, all right, you're lost, bro.
I am a firm believer. 2 to 3 per person. That's it. Depending on how much you have.
Unless it's full size. One
full size candy bar.
Yeah, exactly. Or one full size candy bar. But if I've got like the small things, it's like 2 to 3, depending on what we have.
Or a toothbrush.
Be that house.
Be that house. The
apples,
No, but you're not. No, they now don't encourage you.
Well,
to
again,
give out
we were kids of the '90s, where apples were a
sure.
common thing to find in our pillowcases.
I
also remember we used to go
Yeah.
way longer. Like I feel like we'd go
No
for like
produce.
3 or 4 hours.
For hours.
Multiple pillowcases full. And
you'd
dumping
go
those out.
home and go back out. Yeah.
If I got an apple, I'd just throw it at their door and run.
Yeah, exactly.
Megan, did you do anything for Halloween this year, or did you?
Yeah, I did not give out candy. I'm gonna be that mean old lady who just like turns my lights off and pretends like I'm not at home. Yeah,
that's fair.
The most antisocial. But no, I went over to a friend's house and we just had like Halloween Town on and watched Halloween movies and did very unsuccessful Halloween clay.
Okay.
We tried. I was working on a ghost cat for like 2 hours straight. I couldn't do it. I was struggling hard. I call myself a creative, but give me clay and I don't know what to do with it.
Doesn't work. And then for me, I just literally handed out candy dressed as a Dharma Initiative person from the best TV show ever, Lost.
Oh my God.
There, for sure. Not the kids weren't getting that reference.
None of them did.
No, they're like,
None of them did.
This guy was literally just getting off of work as
got
a
off
trash
his
man,
shift.
as some sort of trash man. And he's here. I don't want this garbage man's candy.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's so disheveled. Oh, he's got nice hair, though. But
It was very nice.
Those smelly feet. Oh, my God.
Anyways, let's get into our first episode of the 2, episode 8, Follow Me, My Friend, to Glory at the End, directed by Ganja Montero. This is our longest episode, not just of this watch club, but this episode 8, is the longest episode of this series. So let's get to it. We slowly pan forward as we see Alice laying dead on the ground, awoken by the soft, subtle touch of death's hand. Rio, standing there, softly tells her it's time to go and points towards her decaying corpse. Alice frantically asks if that's all the time she has or had, and says she broke her curse. She could finally do something with her life now. and Rio reminds her that she's a protection witch and that she died protecting someone. And that's our opener, which, this is completely what we all thought that Rio was up to as Billy was burying his fellow coven members off the road. Darcy, what did you think of this opener, and do you think this is the last we're ever going to see of Alice Wu Gulliver?
I really enjoy this opener. Again, getting the confirmation of what she was doing as a way to really solidify the reveal from episode 7 was a really cool way to kick things off for sure. And I don't think we'll be seeing Alice Wu again, just based on how, again, this series is dealing with this, afterlife, if you will, where once you cross that veil, maybe you can be contacted, but I'm not sure if you're coming back at all type thing. So I don't know if we'll be seeing her again, and I think it adds, that weight to her character and what she sacrificed along the road type thing. So totally on board for not seeing her again, if that's the case.
It's so incredibly sad, right? I mean, she literally was free of her curse for the first time ever, and just because she wanted to protect her friends and protect Agatha of all people, she ends up losing her opportunity to really live. But I think, as cold as it is to say, I think you're right, Darcy. I don't think we're gonna see her again. I would say though, to see her as a ghost rocking out as like a spirit of the dead, bringing like an undead army like Lord of the Rings style in Secret Wars, and she's like belting the ballad, bro.
I mean, it would look cool.
Yeah, but it's probably
but it's not that feasible. Because I also think that, like, especially ghost-wise, and if we're going with, what people would really believe is you really only become a ghost if you have unfinished business. And Alice literally finished her business.
Yeah.
She was like, this is the only thing that I need to end in my life. And she did it. She saved herself. She saved her coven. She did what she was supposed to do. And then, like Rio says, she died protecting someone, which is her purpose.
Meant to do. Exactly. Yeah. I think it goes to say, like, for all of the characters that we've lost through this show, I think to bring them back in any shape or form does really diminish the importance of this show and the importance that their role has in just this story.
Right.
That said, obviously it doesn't stop them from, throwing up a Lilia and a Doctor Strange 3 as some sort of flashback or something. Who knows, right?
Sure.
Like,
maybe they ran into each other.
If something like that and there's some sort of crossover there, but I really don't see it. I see that these characters were really, really valuable and important to this story. Therefore, that's where they live.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the best way to treat them. So I hope we don't
respect them.
And yes, exactly. That's the word. Exactly. Yeah. Respect them. But yeah, this is an interesting open. I love that it's that confirmation, like you said, Nate, that we just kind of get, that's what Rio was doing. She was collecting that body.
Yeah. And fantastic performance from Alian, I think, in this moment, and sort of getting to see those sort of desperate, like that sort of is it really my time? Like, can I, please? And it's just, you really see it in her eyes. And I thought she did a really good job and added to the brutality there. But I also wanted to just mention, like, getting to really see Rio as Death in this scene, kind of, for the actual first time. We got to see her a little bit, but I think here we really get to sort of see her performing as Death, acknowledging that, she is Death. And, Aubrey Plaza doing that eye widening thing that she does when she points to the body. She does that. Like, it's such a classic Aubrey Plaza thing. And it just was like, immediately, I was just like, oh, thank you so much that she's Death. Like, it's just so, not just for her. We've talked about every week how perfect it is for her, but just for as an audience, like, it's so great.
No, this is that's some of the best casting, really.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, Aubrey is an actor that uses her eyes quite a bit with her performance, and I know there is probably a design that in the comics, and maybe Darcy you can validate, that looks something like half human, half skull face, but that look that they've brought to life here with capturing Aubrey's eyes and then giving a very traditional Death look, it really does marry the two together so nicely and really show why Aubrey is perfect for the role. And using her eyes in such a, like, even at the end when we see her, the way she just animates her eyes to kind of say what she's thinking, it's really great.
Yeah, again, thank you, whoever decided this casting. It's absolutely perfect. Let's keep going here. So we cut back to see Jen and Billy's reaction to Lilia's decision to sacrifice herself. Meanwhile, Agatha is staggering along the road as she encounters Rio, who is happy to remind Agatha that her coven is shrinking. First Alice and now Lilia, as well as the Salem Seven. The bodies are really piling up, just like you promised, she says. Rio points out Agatha's been distracting her from Billy. She says he's an abomination who's disrupting the sacred balance, and reminds Agatha that no one has had special treatment like her. Agatha tells Rio that she gave her nothing. She took. Rio asks Agatha why she lets the other witches believe the lies about her and her son Nicky, and she says because the truth is too awful. Then, Jen and Billy come to the conclusion that Agatha's ex is death. And Rio informs Agatha that she can't let the son of the Scarlet Witch take yet another life for his twin brother. She has to take him, but she can't, because if he's killed, he'll just reincarnate again and Rio will lose him. She needs him to turn himself in, so to speak. This sparks a plan in Agatha's head, and I love that little bit of acting from Catherine Hahn where you literally see the light bulb go off in her head in that moment. And she says she can get him to the finish line and deliver him to Rio in exchange for her freedom. Rio tells her, Agatha, you will eventually die, but Agatha says, when I die a long time from now, that she never wants to see Rio's face again. Rio agrees to the deal and proceeds to leave the road by cutting a freaking hole in it, which I want to talk about. But then as Agatha rejoins Jen and Billy, they discover they've reached the end of the road, except they're at the beginning. The road is a circle, and Agatha suggests they go again, but Billy gets frustrated and says he no longer cares to respect the road and decides to put his shoes back on. So a few things to discuss here. But first, what did you think of this breakup fight between Agatha and Rio? Megan?
I mean, these last two episodes, we'll talk about it like at the very end for sure. Mm-hmm. But I feel like this was a relationship that was set up in such a specific way and then wasn't followed through with the way that I thought it would be.
I agree.
So it just kind of didn't really feel like much of a fight, to be honest. It didn't feel like a breakup. It didn't feel like anything. Mm-hmm. And I personally, and I know I'm not the only one, I'm a little disappointed with the way that they treated this relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a history that they're talking about throughout this series that we don't really get to see, and it's never fully told to us. And I don't know, like, this is the first half of a finale, right? So in the second episode, when we get there, we'll talk about it, like you said. But I don't know. I feel like as much as in the moment, it felt like very much a conversation that hadn't been had. Do you know what I mean? Like, they had been avoiding each other, and this was the closure, if you will, the closure conversation. But when we get to the second episode of this finale and we see what that relationship was, it's like, oh, there's just not much there. There's not much of a justification as to why they have such a history outside of other things. So
or at least that it made it feel that way.
They made it feel like there was a history when there really wasn't. And again, there something we'll talk about.
History, we just didn't see it, I think.
Yeah,
correct.
There definitely was a history, because again, you got to think about how old Agatha was and when she had Nicky. That 700 years or 600 years or whatever passed in that time frame. So that's a lot of time for her to have that relationship. It's just, again, we don't get to see any.
They're not showing it to us.
They're not showing it. And like, to me, I'm justifying a lot of this personification of death by my knowledge, or through my knowledge of the comics and how her relationship and how she manipulates her partners and those things. So like, I'm justifying this breakup and reacting to it with ways only comic fans can, because that knowledge of how she treats partners or her paramours is omitted entirely almost from this series, which is a really weird way to handle the character.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, we'll talk about it in the second episode chunk, but for her to bring up, like, why do you let everybody believe these lies about Nicky? And for her to say, because the truth is too awful, it felt, oh my God, like it's got to be some big, huge thing.
Mm.
And then it's just not, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think
again,
there
we'll
is-
talk about that.
Yeah,
when it comes up,
we'll talk about it, but like there is parts of it that are pretty awful. But I think just for me at least, I wanted to see more of their relationship and what built to this history, even if it was pockets of windows through what would be flashbacks in the second part of this finale.
Mm-hmm.
But like there just wasn't enough of it, and I think that. Yeah, like at the end of the day, when to your point, when you hear this conversation, not having seen that episode, you're excited for what could potentially be on the table. But it doesn't go to anything. I am excited. Like I would be interested to see if there is more to explore.
Yes.
Down the road, but at the end of the day,
Well, we
it's
reached
like,
the end of the road, Justin.
Well,
no, I hear
But
you.
I
have
feel like
reached
this
it,
was
but
the
I just-
episode this was the show to do that in.
yeah,
Yes.
you're right. You're
This was the
absolutely
story
right.
to do
There's not a chance that that's going to happen. So it's definitely left a lot of things on the table for me.
Friend of the show, Alyssa Balistreri, who we've had on our Watch Club a couple times this series, writes in, "Hey geeks, I felt that there was a missing piece in the finale. The lack of backstory for the romance between Rio and Agatha was so unexpected. It really took away from my full enjoyment of the series." She also goes on to ask a question regarding if there was anything else that was missing. I definitely have something that I want to talk about, but I'm going to save that till a little bit later. So if if there's, she says, is there anything that wasn't tied up? So as we go along, if there's something pops up and you sort of want to answer that question for Alyssa, feel free to do so. I know where I'm going to. But I also wanted to kind of, because I think that element of them having this fight and her saying, like, I never want to see you again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was so much that could have made that more impactful. And like you said, it just didn't. But one thing that was really cool, and this is something that I sort of caught on the second watch through, is that Rio was literally about to spoil the ending of this episode with a line she says, where she says, "This walk with someone else's son on a road that doesn't even," and she's about to say exist, but Agatha yells, "Stop." And I just thought it's so cool, like how these writers find a way to make this show so much, so enjoyable on a multiple watch through situation. From the writing and the dialogue was so cool. And then, sorry, but Truman Show moment, her cutting through, like I legitimately thought we were going to get a WandaVision twist moment where she was going to step out and she was going to be like offset. And Jack Schaefer was going to be there, like directing a movie called The Road or something like that. Like you know what I mean? I kind of felt like that was kind of.
I would have probably just. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do
WandaVision.
that.
Yeah,
no,
like a She-Hulk thing.
Kind of, yeah. Well, breaking that fourth wall thing, like Wanda kind of did in some of those episodes, right?
It was cool, but like it was like definitely the knife into the whole thing that was like, there's something fishy about this whole thing. Like if you thought it throughout the entire watch of this series that there was something up about this road, that was your confirmation right in that moment. Like, oh shit, what does this all mean? I felt very lost to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you know what I mean? Like it felt very lost in the way that it just kind of it just broke that wall, right, of illusion.
Literally.
You're like, holy shit,
ripped through it.
right? Yeah, no, ripped through it. So I did enjoy that. I did really like that. I think that what it signifies and what it sets up for is really interesting.
And the shoes at the end of the road or beginning of the road, obviously, again, we've brought up the Wizard of Oz comparisons. There's no place like home kind of vibes, and it's funny that we sort of end up back, at Agatha's home. But Billy, just before that moment, before they get to the shoes, literally says, "We're back to square one." And I was just like, rewatching it, I was like, they are then just back to square one. So knowing what we know about Billy and about the road, it's just, again, it's one of those little elements to the writing in this show that is just so phenomenal and so incredible. I did want to just also kind of ask, because we do get a confirmation that Billy can just continue to reincarnate. We also learn that Tommy's soul isn't in Mr. Scratchy, as much as that would have been cool. He's not in a body. So Darcy, where's Tommy's soul? Where is he?
I feel like it's a weird question to ask, given that we know the answer.
Do we?
Like,
I don't. Maybe it wasn't clear for me then.
in the next episode, or by
Well,
the end of this
let's save it
episode.
then. Yeah.
Okay.
So the end of this
Yeah.
episode is the reveal where it is. Like,
Yeah, okay.
For
Let's
the
save it
whole
because
build-up of
I
that.
want to hear your theory. I want to hear your.
I don't know if okay, yeah,
But in the
okay.
meantime, where is it?
Yeah, where was it floating? Where was it floating around? Is there a specific?
That's the
Do you know
thing,
of any?
No, I
in
was.
between
it's
space?
I'm
not
interested.
floating.
I'm interested
Yeah.
in us
They-
talking about this though.
Yeah, that's we
Okay.
got to get to the
Okay,
with them
all right,
escaping.
The escaping. Yeah.
Okay, so Jen, Billy, and Agatha wake up inside body bags and discover they've made it to the next trial, a morgue with a ticking clock of grow lights. Agatha and Jen have their pendants, but Billy flips through his spell book and calls it worthless and tosses it, and then the bed kind of goes into the wall. And then Jen discovers through conversation that Agatha all along was the one who bound her. Agatha is the one responsible for stripping Jen of her power for over a century. In the 1920s, Agatha said the patriarchy really shout out to Hush a Lady, which was just that's so rough. That's so tough. Jen immediately rips out some of Agatha's hair. She kind of goes into like go mode and begins the unbinding ritual. She says, "I deny your power over me," and begins to repeat, "You hold nothing." Jen is given back her power and begins to sob, finally feeling whole, finally gaining her prize. With her prize granted, she disappears from the road, and this kicks off the final trial. So, Megan, what did you think of the reveal that it was Agatha who bound Jen all those years ago?
Again, I just
Yeah.
feel like
I would have liked some context.
yeah,
the way-
this was such a cop out.
I know. It felt like if that answer was there all along, I would have rather them hint at it and show it a little bit more like they were doing with this whole,
Yeah.
what is the road and
Yeah.
where does it come from? And, all of these other little elements like you were pointing out, Nate, like how they've been layered in with the writing to kind of hint and play with what the big themes and the big secrets and reveals are of the episode. So this feels like out of nowhere in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Like, I'm like, what? Like, I kind of liked it that it was just some scientist or doctor that was like, that was experimenting. Hey, give me a weird ass Doctor Strange. You know what I mean? That's
Well,
like,
this is what makes no sense and
Yeah.
why this reveal really fell flat for me because why was her nightmare that happened in the first trial having to do with some doctor or priest or whatever the heck he was?
So I didn't mind this reveal, honestly, because I think first off, it adds to the whole, evilness that Agatha's, name carries with her. The fact that she's doing all these dirty deeds, just like some guy with money
True, yeah.
came to her and says, "I want to take a Robert Rich for powers, write a spell for me," and then he used that. And I think it's really interesting the fact that Jen was so caught up in the fact that it was this normal man scientist guy who managed to bind her that she never thought to go think, oh, it's another witch and that's the easy way out type thing. Like she thought it was a science-based issue when it really was
Right.
just a magic thing. Like I think that just to me makes her escape so much more justified when as soon as she knows what she needs to do, she does it. Like you said, Nate, she enters go mode and just gets the fuck out of there. Doesn't give a shit about anybody else because all this time she's been thinking one thing and realized that that's just like the greatest evil has always been with her type thing. So I know I didn't mind that much. I do understand that a bit more explanation other than the one really like throwaway line that they use. Like how they did it, a bit disappointing, but my justification of it allowed me to
I
enjoy
would have
it, I
been
guess.
fine if it was Agatha, like that. They kind of like again, if they hinted at it and gave us
Yeah.
context, then I would have appreciated it. The
If they
fact
had
that it's
talked
just
about if they had
left in
talked
the
about things she
conversation.
had done before, where she had like you used to work for white men type thing or whatever, or
Sure.
you used to work for
Yeah.
a man to give them spells.
Yeah.
They mentioned that in an earlier episode as one of the great list of deeds she's done, and be like, oh, maybe that's how it affected Jen type thing. Like even if that small seed to me would have been all they really needed
Yes.
to do to really justify this reveal.
Yeah, I think the pace at which they have this line that does almost fall flat or feel like a throwaway line, it is done in such a quick way to, like you're saying, emphasize how evil Agatha can be, and to the kind of the idea of like, for her, she has a level of disdain when they first encounter Jen in this show. They both do, meaning that she's interacted with her within the 100 years that she's also bound her, meaning that either the binding ritual that she does, she saw her face and just forgot, which is incredibly evil, or it's like maybe she can do it like, from afar or what have you. But I just think that, when Alyssa writes in and asks, is there one thing or something in this series that was missing? Sashir Zamata in this moment gives such an incredible, like, this is like, when I talk about Lilia's performance, Patty's performance in episode 7, this is Sashir's moment. And when she is, constantly going over and over and over again, just saying, you hold nothing, and coming to tears. I think it's a direct commentary on women's rights. It's a direct commentary on human rights as well. And I just wish the show got a chance to explore that a little bit more. I think what they do with not this episode, but the next episode, in terms of the amount of time that they took with that episode in certain ways, I think it could have been scaled back. And we never got a trial, really, for Jen. We got a third trial that she got to pass and had a little bit of her backstory. But we didn't necessarily get to sort of see like her, I guess we did get a trial, but we didn't get like her traumatic backstory. We didn't actually get to see what this reveal is actually showcasing. And I think there just could have been more. I think there was just stuff that was like kind of on the chopping block floor. And for Jen to be the one that survives in this series, I think it would have been really even more impactful, her surviving and her getting through, if we had have sort of gotten a little bit more from that. Again, I'm not a writer, but I just, we all can feel it, right?
There's something missing. Absolutely. I totally agree. I think what they did in the first trial was Jen's trial.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
That was the potions. That was meant to be the total thing. And here even they talk about, well, we don't have an earth witch. Well, potions and earth, they're the same. Like, you can interchange them. Right. So they're basically setting the precedence that, well, it doesn't matter. If they don't have earth, they have Jen. She's pretty much as good as it is. But to the point of what we're talking about, in that first trial, it did really show us the reflection of what happened to Jen. It gave us that sort of that very bold visual take. And so I think to have shown us there, not addressed it, and only just had it as this thing that's why she's on this journey, is because she's bound. She wants her power back. But then to throw in a haphazard sort of like blanket statement that basically
it's like, we don't have 10 episodes, so
yeah, well,
sorry.
That's what I mean, right? Like, it would have been something that could have been a little bit more explored into the point of what you're saying with the sentiments of how she speaks. It could have been, that would have landed a lot more had we seen and had more context around why Agatha, or, how Agatha really was involved in that.
Yeah.
So
even if it was like cutting from the opener for this episode into a bit of that or something along those lines, right? And then we get to this moment where we're sort of seeing Agatha struggling to sort of hold in that secret, or she recognizes something, and we go, oh yeah, because we just saw all that. Like, I think it could have worked a little bit better, and I think there was an opportunity. But
yeah, I mean, my biggest problem with these last 2 episodes is that it felt like they rushed everything, and so many things got very little explanation, if any. And it was things that should have come to some kind of culmination that was like a big moment or a big reveal or just like explanation. And then it just didn't get explained, or a throwaway line happened that felt really unnecessary, or like they didn't care. Yeah. And because we grew to care about these characters so much throughout this show, it felt really like disrespectful to just like have 3 characters that we loved a lot. I'm talking about Jen, Agatha, and Rio, just kind of not get the ending or the explanation that we want. It was almost like a lot of moments were really left up to interpretation, and this was not the time to do something like that. So
an exposition was like the thing, right? Like, just like explain it, right? So
I want more exposition in this show. I wanted it, and we didn't get any of it. So
I will say a neat little thing that I sort of noticed, though. We talked every week about Billy starting every trial, and to a certain degree, we learn that Jen gets her freedom because the rules of the road say that when you get the thing you want, you sort of quote unquote disappear. So if that's the case, then he technically did start this trial based off of his rules, right? So it's just kind of cool to sort of see them, even in this moment, find that continuity, which was really cool. And again, there's elements to this that they're carrying through, and I still appreciate it, but I don't know.
I got a lot to say about the road.
Okay. Do you want to keep going, or do you have?
Let's move forward, and I'll
keep
talk
walking.
about it later.
Let's keep walking. Agatha asks Billy to sit down, telling him, "We're gonna find your brother." She tells him Tommy isn't waiting out there in a body, and that's what got Rio in such a tizzy. They begin to explore Billy's mind to understand his last moments with Tommy. We hear both Vision and Wanda's voices, and Agatha asks him to find. Agatha asks him to find a place for his brother. Billy begins to see a boy who's being pranked and shoved under the water. He says it's a bad place. He's got no one to love him. And he asks Agatha if he's killing the boy so his brother can live. That was crazy. And he screams and then disappears. Agatha quietly says, "No, Billy, sometimes boys die." She reflects on some of her son's hair, and when she discovers a single dandelion seed hidden in her brooch, she plants it with a single tear in the soil, now revealed in the crack in the ground. And this ends the trial, and the room begins to collapse around her, and Agatha escapes before she's buried. So, Darcy, I'm going to toss it to you because we were getting to this before we were supposed to get to it. We almost saw Tommy. Do you think in that moment Billy truly did plant Tommy into this kid's dying body, or will Tommy's origin story be different in the MCU?
No, I definitely think that was what we saw there. It was very reminiscent of how we saw Tommy or Billy take over William's body, or whatever you have. William take over Billy, whoever it was. It's very similar to we see them reincarnate, at least in this world. And this is this scene is where I think they tell us where Tommy is. I mean, Agatha's like, you have all those memories. You're living for two. You can't do that. There's not space for that. Find a home for Tommy, and that's what this is finding. Again, she says 120 new openings every minute, basically, or whatever she says, every day. So there's someone out there who's dead, and there's a space for him. You just got to find it. So I think that is what we saw. Is that again, it's a bad place. Tommy's going to be very confused and lost, much like we saw Billy, and that's what their future journey will be to find and kind of bring some peace to this kid who's
he was in
a
him,
horrible
though.
place.
So he was carrying Tommy's soul.
Tommy was inside
carrying
for
Tommy.
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
She said you have all the memories. They're living for two, all those things.
Everything,
it's
he
not
has
about
it all.
William, it's about Tommy with him.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I thought was really cool. Is that, again, we talk about this idea of projection. We've talked about it. We thought, it wasn't, why would it would be Wanda that he's looking for? No, it's Tommy, right? Oh, okay, well, then Tommy's out there. If this happened to Billy, this must have happened to Tommy. He got shot out the other side and he's somewhere else. No. It's actually it's so much more personal. It's so much more meaningful. And if you think about it, it makes the most sense because he is he is the DNA or the spirit of the Scarlet Witch. He has essentially similar powers and same capabilities. He can manifest another Tommy, right? With the memories and that they have and the memories that live inside of him that he either can or can't. That's the other thing. We don't really know how much of it he's tapped into in terms of his memories, right? Because he's kind of born anew once he enters William's body. So they're going to have to figure out life, and that's going to be a really interesting story just to follow eventually. But I thought that was really poetic, I guess, to say that Tommy's always is in him. He doesn't have to look for Tommy. What he's been looking for has been inside of him all along.
Yeah. I also just like the fact that because it kind of also justifies why Death would be so interested in Billy outside the fact that she already collected the one soul from William Kaplan, but now there's this other soul. And it's not so much that he's living, it's the fact that he's two souls in one body.
Getting two for one deal.
And that's why she's like, I need to figure this out. This can't happen type thing. So,
but what's interesting too is that you I guess, they are souls to a certain degree, but Are they because they're the manifestation?
100%.
Are they? Is it because they're like a soul, like which is an extension of the Scarlet Witch, that she's so like maybe that's why she's kind of like maybe she wants that. I don't know. It's interesting.
I feel like they've become more than just essence that the Scarlet Witch created.
Mm-hmm. Like the fact that they are existing now that she's gone, is proof that they're the souls that the Scarlet and Vision created or whatever is truly, like, they are true souls, whether they're from like the original creation or not, but they are exactly the same as one that was like William who passed away type thing. They're just as valid in terms of a soul.
Yeah. I think we're all on it there. I think the MCU writers and the writers who take on whatever's next for Tommy can obviously do whatever they want. But I think the idea that the one thing that Billy really actually wanted, again, it kind of changed throughout these last few episodes, as we discovered, but really it was to find Tommy. But then maybe it was actually to find Tommy a new home and a new body, and he did that, and so he disappeared. Right in that moment, he screams. He disappears by his own rules, whether he knows it or not. His rules are: once you get the thing that you want most, you're off the road or you're out of it. So it is interesting to sort of see that that's kind of how he completed his mission, if you will, is finding that vessel for Tommy. And then I also saw some people pointing out online, because Marvel fans are cuckoo crazy bananas, that the shoes on this like kid that's being drowned are the colors of Speedster.
Sure. I mean,
something
yes,
like that.
They are.
Yeah.
Speed is his name.
Speed.
Too, which
Okay.
is just Speed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is the orange, white, and gray of his costume as a hero. So it is, and they have the little arrows that kind of look like the Fast Forward logo that he uses.
Yeah.
So I do get that little Easter egg.
But they're smart enough in a way of filming it so that we don't see a face.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to be like, but that's not who it was in Agatha. Like we can, they can cast whoever they want. But cool. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, we can talk more about Tommy a little later. As Agatha emerges from the trail, she looks up to see Rio cackling maniacally with the lightning storm behind her. Agatha demands Rio give her her prize. Agatha, using all she's learned from the previous trials, tries everything she can to survive this encounter with death. Just as Rio has Agatha tied up and about to die, Rio is blasted by an unseen force. It's Billy, or should I say Wiccan, now in his... It's the Funko Pop. Wiccan, now in his fullest form. He asks Agatha to not take all his power as he begins to blast her. She absorbs just enough for her to get back onto her true form, and she now has the power to fight back. Rio offers them a choice. One of them can stay with her, and the other can walk free. She blasts Billy into a greenhouse, and he exits with just enough time to blast Rio back yet again. He runs to Agatha, who's bleeding, and says, "We can't fight death. It should be me." She tells Billy, "You're not bad," and then Billy offers himself instead. Agatha stands up and immediately says, "Yeah, take him, the boy, as promised." And Billy just is like, "Okay, what?" And feels utterly betrayed. And he attempts to speak with Agatha telepathically as she's walking away. He does, and he asks her, "Is this how Nikki died? Or is this what happened to Nikki?" Or something along those lines. Agatha, with her hand on her chest, runs to Rio and kisses her, thus sealing her fate as the one to die. She's lifted up and placed into the ground as her body decays at an accelerated rate. She becomes a bed of flowers, and Billy longingly stares at her, where her body once was. His gaze averts to her locket, her little brooch, which he picks up, and then in that moment, Death, satisfied with what she's done, communicates telepathically to him, telling him he may go. Billy walks away as the townsfolk of Westview stare at him in shock. He gets in his van and drives back to Eastview. So let's talk about this Wiccan reveal. We also got Agatha and Rio's sort of big final showdown that we were all expecting. And of course, the kiss of death. Justin, what did you think of this final sort of big climactic moment and the quiet moments after?
Big climactic moment was interesting. I really enjoyed the battle between Agatha and Rio or Death. I thought it looked cool, and I liked that there was, it was building up, right? So we were getting this like one-on-one. But I did suspect that Billy would be in the shadows and would
because we hadn't seen that leaked costume yet, right?
Well, but here's the thing, like, like the fact that we get it, again, it shouldn't be a surprise because yes, it was spoiled, but I think at the same time it didn't feel earned. It didn't feel like we got to that point where it made sense that he had all these things. I think the way they've introduced Billy Maximoff, in this series has been really interesting, but I'm sort of confused as to like, what does he know about his powers and himself? And even in the the bottleneck episode where they focus on William and Billy's story, it is clear obviously he has some sort of idea based on memories and what he's trying to piece together, but his powers, he had no connection to his powers. So that instance in episode 5 where he reveals himself, it wasn't some like I am the villain moment. It's no, I have something, inside me that I don't know that I have. And to go from that to then suddenly donning a costume and looking super badass floating down.
He did look great.
Like he looked great. Honestly, it's so fucking perfect. Yeah. It's a great look. I think they nailed it. It just felt so like we jumped. Like I think getting to that moment, especially in the MCU, it should be valued and kind of treated with a bit more of like that, like that the character is earned it. And I think they've done a great job throughout the MCU kind of doing that in a lot of ways. So here it just felt like we got there pretty quickly with this costume. But yeah, it was still like the action was really, really great. The soft moments though were really beautiful too. The quiet moments and, the flowers that take over. I love that, again, Catherine Hahn is just, man, these last 2 episodes, she's killing it. Like she really is kind of going back and forth between 2 different sides of emotions from, being really theatrical and protective of herself to like really embracing the emotions and the actual heart of the moments. And yeah, like when you hear that voice say to her, is this what happened to Nicholas? Like, she just kind of turns back and you just see it in her eyes
without her even saying anything. Yeah.
It was just really, it was so well done. So like kudos to her for being able to, in this scene, in these moments, go from like action to theatricality to like heartfelt. It's, it was just it just goes to show how much strength she has as an actor.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I personally, I like the costume reveal. And to me, again, I'm justifying it with the fact that him getting what he wanted at the end of the, from the road, he wanted to get power is what he was initially set out for. And in freeing Tommy from his body, it was almost like that unlocked the block that was on his powers, because now he knows who he is, what he has to do, and where he came from type things. That's kind of why I'm okay with the sudden power up. I gotta say, I love the fact that when we first see him floating down there, the Transformers sparking behind him are very. When we first see him in that costume in the comics, he's not Wiccan, he's Asgardian.
Oh,
yeah, that's his character name, and because his 2 favorite heroes are Scarlet Witch and Thor.
Oh my god,
so that kind of inspired his costume and his look and stuff like that.
That's really
seeing
cool.
the little sparks, and again, that's why he has a cape, because he liked Thor's red cape and all that stuff. So it's a neat little touch to that to bring in. And again, they nailed the translation from comics to screen, and I love the fact that they kind of changed his headband a bit to really tie into the Scarlet Witch's history. So again, I really love this, fully powered up look of Wiccan.
Yeah, he looks
series.
great. He does look great.
Yeah, I will have to agree with Darcy. I wasn't so upset about the Wiccan reveal. I think it was great, and it actually kind of felt earned. It felt really like abrupt out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, oh yeah.
But it felt earned because we did get that episode at the very end when the crown is revealed, and we get the Billie Eilish moment. It was epic. But at least like we had a moment halfway through before this reveal because it was so abrupt and kind of out of nowhere. My big problem is, again, we're going to bring back the relationship between Agatha and Rio, and I know it's in the next episode where we really don't get any history between them at all.
Yeah.
But I want to support a community that I'm not a part of, but I'm a big ally of, and I know that this relationship was really huge and representative of the queer community, and Alyssa talked about it a lot while she was on the podcast, and it just in this moment felt like you created a queer relationship to facilitate the quote unquote kiss of death. It was almost like they gave us that sexual tension throughout the entire series just so that this could be the way that Agatha died. And it feels a little cheap. It was a cool Marvel moment, but it's a little disappointing. Again, this episode, and I know we're not done talking about the whole thing, but this episode kind of feels like it should have been the finale. So to get another episode that was meant to kind of go back and explain a little bit, or at least give us some history between these characters that you've built up throughout the entire show, I don't know. That's my biggest problem.
That was something I had noticed as well, and I think I kind of, there was a moment where I did sort of feel torn a little bit just in Agatha's actions in both the kiss as well as her being selfless, which is something that is not really part of her character. And we all sort of speculated that she was going to kind of make some sort of big selfless act and die in the process. And so, part of me was happy to see that because I was like, yeah, we're all right. Another part of me was happy to sort of see that growth from Agatha. But at the same time, I really wanted to see those two embrace in a moment of passion and love for each other, and not a moment of, I'm doing this to save this boy. And to me, like, I think, and again, I go back and forth on sort of the growth for Agatha was great. It just, there was a better way to handle this embrace between the two characters, because when they almost kiss in that first time, it's fantastic. Like,
electric.
The chemistry was electric.
But that's where you saw that romance. You know what I mean? Like, I think to the point of what you're saying, Meg, like, I think the next episode disservices this episode so much. Like if they didn't have death in it, it would have been far better. Yep. Because again, alluding to this idea of like there's a history and so on and so forth, like we didn't even see it, you know what I mean? So it doesn't really justify a long-term relationship. I think their actions, though, throughout this entire season leading up to that finale, to that episode 9, did justify a relationship. I think it does justify that they've known each other for quite a while. There was tension between them. They played it really, really well. Whether we got to see that relationship or not, I think that it is there, and it's totally validated. And I understand that sentiment of maybe this was just a ploy to get to like two girls kissing and saying it's the kiss of death and making it okay, or just doing it for the sake of doing it. I guess is kind of the sentiment. I don't know. I was really, I think we're all just disappointed that we didn't get to really see what made that relationship so strong, what made that relationship so passionate and so intimate. It was just a moment, right? So
yeah, and I think that that's where I agree with you, and I support the idea that like it did make sense, and had we just not had episode 9, I don't think we'd all feel this way.
Right. Or we wouldn't
or it wouldn't be as bad.
Yeah, we wouldn't be thinking about it in that manner of like, well, you've told me all this history, right? But I guess at the same time, it's like, there's a lot of time that's passed. I guess that episode, and when we talk about it, it's not about anything else other than the decision with her, her and her son, right? And it's
the long con,
and explaining the road.
We'll get to.
Yes, exactly.
But
yeah. I mean, I honestly think that again, I'm justifying almost why they didn't show us more of this relationship because of how manipulative death is in the comics. It'd be a very toxic relationship. I mean, she manipulates Thanos into doing eliminating half the world or all living life. She wants Deadpool. Deadpool continuously dies just to spend time with her, and it's just she's very manipulative about how she approaches her things. So I don't see them having this happy relationship that we think. I feel like again with Agatha and the death associated with her as the killing her coven and everything that follows with her, that would be almost like maybe she's doing that to please death and to get on her good side and stuff like that. Like, it's all the foundation there for this toxic relationship. Even later on, when in the next episode, when Billy says, go back to her toxic embrace. Like, I don't think if we saw that relationship, it would be a very happy one.
Yeah,
No.
I just, again, I don't think that there's enough time to do it, but the way it was treated in the following episode just disserviced everything. Like, if that's all it really is. It's like we wanted more background and detail to see that toxicity, to see maybe a little bit of that. But again, it's one episode, and what is the focus of that last episode, right? Is it her relationship and her history with death, or is it the relationship with her son? And I think they went down that route of obviously wanting to talk about her and her son, but I don't know, like,
when maybe it could have been both. Maybe.
Yeah, like
Maybe
you could
we
have fit in
that
like a
first part in
line or
half.
two or something to give
well,
us some
she's
kind
there, like
Yeah.
she's there at the beginning. But like, again, that said, I think when that kiss happens, it's you feel that energy, you feel that intensity. I think, again, it's having a different perspective of that kiss after watching it, maybe.
Yeah.
But everything leading up to that, like that moment, they did such a great job between the two of them that really did hit.
I think their dialogue and their lines back and forth as they're fighting, so good. There's some really great sort of campy things. I mean, even Rio throwing the kitchen sink at Agatha was great, and just sort of some of the stuff that she says. And I want to just commend them from another production standpoint as well. Like, I think Rio, we talked about her look at the beginning of this episode, here with the half skull face, and I think the way that they had her telepathically communicating with Billy was such a smart choice, because if you've ever seen live action skeletons try talking, it kind of comes across as cheesy. No offense to Pirates of the Caribbean, those they were cool, but when they talk, kind of look a little. And then I also want to shout out the Westview townsfolk, just those poor people just having to be like, is it happening again? Like, please. And then the fact that they also did like sort of a mirror match cut to how they filmed sort of Wanda's quote unquote walk of shame, if you will, or whatever, her walk afterwards, putting the hood up, and we see that from Billy as well. And I like that sort of subtle foreshadowing to sort of be like he's gonna start to recognize more and more and more the ways that he's actually like his mom, even though he doesn't want to call her his mom, whatever. I'll call her his mom. Okay, let's keep going here. So speaking of his mom, once back home with Jeff and Rebecca, they rush to their son and ask him what happened. We cut to him. He's now showered up. He's got all the blood cleaned off his face, and he's back to his life as William Kaplan. And he begins to reflect on his room differently this time. He stares at all the elements that remind him of the journey he just took. He realizes that these aren't just tokens to remind him of the Witch's Road, but instead, they are the Witch's Road. He created the Witch's Road. Billy says, "It was me." And then he hears Agatha laughing. He turns around to hear a disembodied voice say, "Boo." And the episode ends before we can see her. So we have it revealed, the big reveal, that yes, Billy did
it was Billy all along.
It was Billy all along. Megan, I know you've been wanting to talk about this. Do you think he's explained, or did you like this reveal? And then I also wanted to kind of ask the question of like, do you think Billy talked to his parents at all about this, or are they still in the dark?
Oh, they
those
know
poor
nothing.
people.
They know nothing.
They know nothing.
They still think he's William Kaplan. They know nothing.
That's so sad.
They think he had a weird moment after his bar mitzvah, and now he's fine. No, I think, again, I think I'm just like a little bit confused about this. I get, and I think it's cool that he's just as powerful, if not more so, than his mom, and didn't even know that he did it until the end. And it's very reminiscent of WandaVision, which I think is a really cool callback to that. Yeah. But it's like there's a lot of detail that went into all of that how could he have known about any of these witches to know all of their history and how to create trials for each of them? Darcy, maybe you could help me out with that.
No, see, the thing is, when you look back at those trials, they're very basic. Like it's not like a trial specifically geared towards Jen. It's a trial for the potion witch. Then you have a trial for the divination witch. Like it's all very loosely based on this
history.
Again, his
I feel like Alice's was pretty specific.
But that's because her mom is such a public figure, an icon.
And he
Like,
did have the
he's-
poster.
Yeah, that's
okay.
exactly right.
Yeah,
He's
Yeah.
a big fan of her. He's a huge fan of hers, right?
You
Yeah.
know more about that character's story because she's an icon in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
She's a
Okay.
rock star. People all
Yeah.
know about her story. If you're a witch, even more so. So like, when you look at it like that, like I love the way that this reveal came about because when you go back and watch some of those episodes, you can just instantly see, especially the way that Agatha notices all the big tip-offs. Basically, that this is all just Billy's
yes.
creation. I love
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
the fact that the writing did like even going back, we can see those moments out of like without them telling it to us, and it'll still hit the same way. Like they did it so well. I love this reveal.
And I'm still under the vibe that possibly, even though it was him, that Jen, Lilia, and Alice and Agatha still brought something.
Sure.
Especially
Oh,
that
yeah.
he is
the
a
road,
mind
right?
Yeah,
reading
of course.
witch.
Yeah.
He is the mind reading witch or whatever.
Right.
So, like he's
So
gonna obviously take these surface
in-
thoughts
from their heads.
personalities.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I think too that like Billy, as much as maybe he's not aware of how powerful he is, all of that power is in him, and it's being
100, yeah.
used.
He created a
just
hex.
doesn't know he's doing it. Yeah.
Under where the original hex was
That's
created.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing to take away is that
Good thing they're not using those subways anymore because that
Yeah,
would have been really
exactly.
upsetting.
But that's the big takeaway is that he
Yeah.
created his own hex and it manifested
In
itself
the underground.
in the underground in a road shape with a lot of elements that we've seen throughout the episode. I think a lot of people had this as a running guess that the road was actually just something that he had contrived, especially after episode 5 and the fact that he revealed himself as being a Maximoff, if you will. So questions, and I'm glad that was one thing that they really kind of stuck to and explaining it. It has this Usual Suspects or even like Sixth Sense sort of moment where they're like the reveals are happening and he's tracing back all of these things, the leaves and
Picking up
the
those
trees,
sick action
yeah.
figures.
Those, yeah.
I want
And then
those.
and he has he has a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
like all of these elements, I thought that was really well handled. And to Darcy's point, some of the things that happened in the episode with Agatha that do deliberately call out the fact that she was in on it.
Yeah.
She knew, right? Whereas all these other witches just thought that this was a trial that people ran and that they somehow unlocked that, right? Like I think that's absolutely hilarious.
I love it.
I think it's cool.
Like, I feel like you could easily sum up the whole series with adding one word to the title and just Agatha knew all along.
Yeah. there you go.
She did.
Yeah.
So, like, from
Yeah.
minute one, she knew because, again, as we get into this next episode,
Yeah.
it all
learn
comes
why.
from what she started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that is it for this week. No, wait a minute. Hold on.
We're only halfway.
We're only halfway through. We're at the back at the beginning of the road, it looks like. Episode 9, Maiden Mother Crone, also directed by Ganja Montero. Let's just jump right in. In a forest, Agatha moans in pain as she runs towards a tree. It's the year 1750, and she's about to give birth to her son. In the distance, she sees Death standing there. As Rio walks towards her, Agatha begs that can she have more time? She says, "If you do this, I'll hate you forever." She pleads with her, saying, "Please, my love." And Rio responds with, "I can offer only time." Agatha asks how much, and Death disappears. Agatha moans again and gives birth to her baby boy. She says, "I spoke no spell, I said no incantation. You I made from scratch." We cut to Agatha walking with her baby in the woods, crying of hunger. She comes across a coven of forest witches who offer her safekeeping. They welcome her and Nicholas into their circle, and Agatha instantly betrays them all by absorbing all of their power. Their lifeless bodies now adorn the forest floor as she and her son Nicholas walk away. So this opens with the birth of Nicholas Scratch and the insidious nature of Agatha Harkness. But before we kind of dig into any of that, we kind of already talked about Agatha and Rio's relationship. And how this episode didn't unfortunately add as much. So maybe we're going to try to fill in some of the blanks here with what I'm about to ask. But do you think that they'd been dating for a long time at that point? Because at this point, she's like this is after what we saw in WandaVision, correct?
Correct.
She's killed
Yeah.
her coven already. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Right.
She's like, she was, I think, de-aged for that scene to make
Yes.
her look more like a teenage, not teenage, but like, you know,
Young 20s.
younger,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, especially here, it does look like that she's, you know, this is, some time has passed,
Yeah.
and you know, who knows? Maybe part of the reason why she killed her coven was because of her
Rio.
relationship with death.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's
So-
exactly. I mean, I think, you know, the idea of like, we still don't technically know how Agatha got the Darkhold, and so I think there's something to do with that, and maybe Agatha charmed her way out of what would have been her actual first death, right? Agatha flirted her way into a relationship with death that ended up being, you know, a good thing for both of them. I remember, you know, just like about a few days before these episodes premiered, Alyssa messaged me and she's like, what if they created a pact to work together and Agatha doesn't die and Rio gets her bodies? And I kind of thought about that. I'm like, oh yeah, and maybe even Rio was the one that gives Agatha the ability to take these powers from these witches, right? And I don't know if that's maybe necessarily a common thing of like, if you blast a witch, she can take your power. So I kind of like the idea that maybe Rio granted her this ability and freedom from death in exchange for giving me more witch bodies, because especially with characters like Lilia, who live for way longer than their expiration date, technically, if they were human, I think Rio, you know, she hates ghosts, but I think she also might not necessarily really like actual witches because they go against that natural, you know, balance. I think Jen and Billy mentioned that, right? That natural balance, that flow, if you will. So I
Yeah,
think
I
it's
guess so.
possible that maybe Rio was the one to sort of give Agatha this ability to sort of say like, hey, you do some cleanup work for me on Earth and I'll let you live a little bit longer.
I feel like witches aren't really harmful, right? Like, they're gonna die eventually.
Well, the thing is, though, like if they have their powers and if no one kills them, they can live forever.
Right. That's what I
essentially.
mean.
So I'm on board entirely with the idea that, like, not so much death giving her the power. Death doesn't give anyone anything.
Right.
Death only takes.
Only
That's the whole summits of the character. But if she sees this witch killer that is going around dropping bodies left, right, and center, obviously that's going to be a draw for her, much like the Thanos in the comics draw, where this guy's obsessed with death and wants to kill millions of people. Like, that's easily someone she's going to be drawn to. So I think it's, in my mind, again, I was saying that's along the lines, like she saw Agatha as a tool to use almost to get these people that are
Interesting.
so unobtainable in the natural, like if she was not to use Agatha, again, these witches would go on forever type thing.
This is all absolutely lovely, and it would have been fantastic
Again, like, this
this
stuff
goddamn show.
I'm only so confident in saying this stuff because I know the character from
No,
the
I
comics.
get
Yeah.
it, but
because that,
yeah.
Yeah.
like, again, it's such a great character in the comics. It's upsetting that I have to be like, the comics, it's great. In the comics, this is how it does,
Right.
because this character is such a great representation of death up to this point that seeing some of that manipulation come through would have been fantastic.
yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
adding
Literally
to that
all we
relationship
needed.
that
Yeah,
we
that's-
needed.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is again, that's where the series falls apart, is the fact that we don't get this history that has been hinted at.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
because
That's
this-
the frustrating part.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what you think this epilogue is really meant to do, right? But
Yeah.
you know, it does
But it
shift
doesn't.
its focus. No, it doesn't.
She was
Absolutely
being
doesn't.
dramatic, Agatha, but it doesn't.
Yeah. No, it doesn't at all. I don't think it does, and I think, yeah, like, in other ways, it's being more relevant to, it's being more focused on how Agatha's story intertwines with obviously the road, rather than death. Like, the relationship has taken a back seat, I guess, now that that Agatha is, I guess, theoretically dead because of the kiss of death. They don't need to be too concerned about this history and just show this instance of a time where there was a history. But
we still care about those characters enough.
No,
to
of course,
wanna
but
see that, right? Yeah.
right, for sure, and I definitely think that there was an opportunity to keep having death come back and visiting Agatha throughout this
these,
flashback,
yeah.
to say, it's time to take him. No, I need more time.
Please, more time.
You see that,
Okay.
and then you
Yes.
get more of
Sure.
a hint of like that window into what they had as a past. Like, you think this was the beginning? No. They've had a relationship, like you said, Nate, well before this. This is
Yeah.
just a specific time when their relationship got complicated because
It's where it fell apart. Basically.
Exactly, because
I
it
feel
was
like from
her
this point
son.
on is where we don't see them. Again, where they don't
Exactly.
see each other anymore.
Well, and
Exactly.
even in a way to kind of almost make it like we get to see each of their dates, but each of their dates is also incredibly sad because it's Agatha asking for more time and Rio sort of granting her more time, but also like kind of romantic. Like there's this really wonderful thing that they have throughout the series of this sort of like dark, sad, but also romantic, like have you horizontal in a grave or whatever. Like there's elements to it where you're like, that's incredibly dark, but also kind of like sweet. And I think there could have been something to play with there for sure.
For sure. And the fact is that they've been able to do a lot with very little.
Yeah.
Like these two.
Yeah.
Like with what they're on screen and their approach to how they acted this was, they didn't act together beforehand. They didn't practice. They didn't rehearse. They just got on set and they did it. And this is what we have. Yeah. So, I think that it wouldn't have taken a lot. I think if Nicholas is super important in this episode, as we'll break down, he could have been the reason why we keep seeing her pop in, and again accentuating a very complicated moment in their relationship that they would no longer be, intertwined with one another.
Yeah, I also want to call attention to detail again. I think the area where these episodes still manage to just knock it out of the park is the attention to detail and the costume design. You see in her hand she's got that flower, but in the previous episodes when we've seen her with that flower, at least in episodes 7 and 8, that flower is completely wilted and dead, and here it's completely full, which is just really interesting, sort of shows us that this is Death, maybe at the top of her game. She's kind of in her prime, if you will. And I just thought that was really cool. Two things really quick before we continue. It was Nicholas dying in childbirth, right? Not Agatha dying, giving birth to...
No, yeah, she was going to take the baby.
The baby was going to die. Okay, sure. That's kind of what I thought as well. And then I wanted to bring up the line, I spoke no spell, I said no incantation, I made from scratch. So this is where I sort of got a little bit confused. I got brought back to like Anakin's mom, like there was no father.
The midichlorians
I carried him, I birthed him, or whatever she says. What do you think this means? Like, was there a dad? Was there no dad? What, like, she didn't use a spell? What do you think?
There definitely was a dad.
Yeah.
If she didn't use a spell, there was a dad. Because the only other way that this character would make light
Darcy's like,
is magic.
Okay,
so
according to science.
No magic.
We're
not.
Yeah.
Nicholas Scratch is not Jesus or anything like that.
Or maybe
Agatha did the dirty.
But I'm almost
someone who wasn't.
Was it Mephisto?
Who wasn't Rio. Could have been possibly
from Scratch
again,
because the devil's called Scratch sometimes, isn't he? I don't know.
In the comics, yes, but I'm not sure if they're
made from scratch.
I don't know if they're going down that road
for
again.
sure.
It's
for sure.
more just the name of the character.
Yeah.
Made from scratch and it's dead.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I think what she's saying is that this is life, right?
Yeah,
this is not magic. So I think, and that's why I think it also really stings when Death is right there to take him.
Yeah.
Right. Of all the things that she can probably do as a witch, can she not save her son? Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, and I wanted to kind of dig into that just a little bit more as we go on here, because I don't have as many questions for this episode. But regarding Agatha's longing to be a mother, right? We've watched it throughout this series. We've seen her and her pain that she's felt. Do you think, like Megan, do you think she actually wants to be a mother, or is her son just another device that she can utilize to gain more power?
I would love for her to have some kind of longing to be a mother.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like it just wasn't handled all that well in this episode. Because, I mean, we'll talk about it, but like, she's not a very good mom.
Yeah.
And it's almost like this was the first time that she wanted to do good, but she couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not her character to be a good person. So and it all culminates in the worst thing that could have happened to her, right? So I guess it kind of, having this story, it's almost like I'm going back on saying I didn't like these episodes, because when more things are explained, I'm like, okay, well, I guess because this happened,
it's the beauty of
she
Watch Club,
redeemed herself at the end of episode 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think the argument can be made that, like, She wants to be a mother really bad. There's elements of her own relationship with her mom, right? That
100%.
clearly
Toxic.
she doesn't. She both has and also doesn't want to be forcing upon someone else, but still does. You know, she almost immediately, like she has a baby, and then like it seems like it's maybe
And
within
kills
the
people.
first day or so, she uses him as a way to get into this inner circle with these witches and kills them all. And you know, I think I keep going back and forth on how truly evil Agatha is, because I guess that's, you know, and I think that's what Jack Schaefer wants, right? She wants this character that can be both, you know, this character that wants her son and more power, and we're seeing through this episode specifically the struggle to make the right decision and the impact that it has on her when she realizes that she's made the wrong decision. Which I think is really cool. I think it's really, really powerful and interesting. But I agree with you, Megan. Like, again, in a MCU world where parentage is not the greatest in a lot of senses. Sometimes it is, like with you know, Miss Marvel or Miss Marvel's family,
Yeah,
but like
Black Panther,
right, or Black Panther, right? There, we definitely see caring parents at times, but you know. It's just interesting to sort of see this mom that is also kind of just in it for herself as well. Yeah.
Well, again, I feel like if they had explained the relationship between Death and Agatha, like if this was a way to be like, oh, maybe this will buy me more time. If I keep giving you just bodies upon bodies, I keep doing what I do best type thing.
Yeah. It'll be more bodies next
time. With my son.
It'll be more bodies next time,
yeah.
sure.
Then, like, again, that comes from later on. My whole theory comes from that as well.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I think it's more if they had explained the relationship beforehand, if Death was using Agatha or was drawn to her because of the constant bodies or trail of bodies she'd leave behind, that would explain why these moments just after like the birth of her son, she's right back to doing it type thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like in this moment when she says "my love," it feels forced. It feels like you're being forced to call her that because there isn't actually. It just doesn't. Whatever we felt throughout the entire series, it doesn't feel like that at all in these moments. So, yeah, just like a little bit of explanation would have been kind of nice.
We've gone a long way. Would have gone a long way.
Let's keep going here. 6 years later, we see young Nicholas stealing something from a local group of witches, leading them back to Agatha, who commits an even worse act by stealing their lives. As they walk through the forest, Nicky asks his mama why she kills witches and why they couldn't just stay with them to survive. And she simply says they'll try to kill us, which is an interesting answer. Nicholas subdues his racing mind by writing a song. Walk, walk, walk this road, walk the winding road. We see a moment where Nicholas asks his mama if she could just use her purple to create food, it was cute when he said purple. She tells him she can't cast she can cast illusions. She can control a feeble mind. She can use she can move objects using her will, but she cannot heal him. She cannot protect him from what's coming. She cannot divine when she will return. We see them play and write his Winding Road song, and eventually he performs it for a group of prospects that Agatha is hunting. After his performance, he runs off back into the woods, and once Agatha finds him, he reassures her that they can kill more witches tomorrow. They share one last song together as they lay down for the night. Nicholas wakes up to see Rio waving to him in the distance. He gets up to leave with her, but Rio reminds him to say one last goodbye to his mother. With a green flame-lit torch, she guides him away, and in the morning, Agatha awakens to discover her son is dead. She sobs, saying, "No, I want more time." She buries him in the forest, and as she sings the final line of his song they wrote together, she places a lock of his hair inside her brooch. She continues to mourn until she's interrupted. So, what did you think of the death of Nicholas Scratch and Rio having to, quote unquote, do her job, as well as Agatha's loss?
Okay, so this bothered me a lot at first watch. I was like, I'm sorry. There's all these rumors about what Agatha did with her son, and he just dies of natural causes. That's it?
Yeah.
Like, it just... I'm gonna, go through the process of saying I hated it to understanding it. But I was really upset because it felt like such a letdown. Like nothing, literally nothing. That was so boring. Now my brain has had time to process, and I understand how tragic this is because he was a vessel for her to do her job and to do her bidding, and that was it. And that's so much more awful than all of the things that people said about what she did to her son. So
I thought this was an addict's story in this moment, right? Whoa. This very quickly shifted to the way that some addicts treat the most important people in their lives. And so I think, her saying, please, I want more time. She's quickly reminded that, hey, you were given more time. And we see her in moments teaching him lessons. We see her playing with him, being his mama. Clearly he loves her. But we also see so much time wasted, right? Where she's using him, as you said, in her cons to gain power. The moment where he runs away from her into the forest, at first I was like, he's gone. He's not coming back. But then she catches up with him, and you realize that it's him desperately trying to tell her in the clearest way possible, I just want to be a normal kid and spend time with my mom. And she pivots that last moment, that final night, and gives him one more good night. And I think her crying out, so deeply, it's because, again, she's this addict. We recognize that her addiction has become so horrible that it's caused her just to sort of become this person that just does nothing but make mistakes in this portion of her life. And then when she finally gets to it, and obviously we're going to talk about what happens after, but she gets past this moment. She goes through this morning, and then instantly she's like, more power. Okay, let me bury what I'm feeling right now deeper and deeper and deeper so that I don't have to feel guilty anymore. And I think when she talks about that shame that she mentioned at the beginning of episode 8, like, the reality of what happened is so much worse. It absolutely is. Yeah. And I think, to your point, Megan, of like this crazy epic thing, like, well, Mephisto's going to show up or whatever, the Darkhold thing. Yeah, that absolutely sounds cool and would be neat to see. But I do really, really think this was an incredibly powerful way to sort of, create this character and this moment.
Yeah, I'd love that idea, but I was taking a different route, again, coming from the idea that she's being used for Rio. And the fact that clearly Nicholas isn't doing well, maybe the timeline for however she has to get these bodies or whatever, this is the last night she has a chance to kill these witches and everything like that. And because Nicholas runs away, that's when she dies. It's the timing of it all just lined up too conveniently, where it feels like this could have been like the bodies were the means to an end to extend Nicholas's life. Mm-hmm. But when Nicholas says no, that's when it's time for him to go, type thing. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't explained. Again, like this, I'm trying to justify this because I want her to be a good mom and to be doing this for the right reason. Because once Nicholas passes on, and she continues doing it, it's almost like this is what you forced me to become, type thing. I am your angel of death, type thing on Earth. Like, witches will constantly drop, and I'll never have to deal with you again, type thing. So I don't know.
I like all that.
I like both spins.
No, for sure. For me, this is what I saw on the screen, and what you're describing sounds awesome. I would have liked to have seen it on the screen, right?
It's
like
all
we
coming
keep
from
saying,
the comic manipulations of death.
For sure.
So, like, it's the missed opportunities where they could explain why she's doing this, whether it's for the right reason or the wrong.
Yeah,
it's just that explanation would have been nice. Again, a little explanation would have gone a long way for this series.
It's just power.
Yeah,
yum.
This was all just very abrupt, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like such a switch. Like, he was there and then he was gone, and I thought there was going to be something of more, like, I guess, emphasis on this moment,
substance.
Like, even if it was a conversation between Rio and Agatha, something along the lines. But I do think that like to the point of what you're saying, Nate, like this has addiction habits and habitual habits written all over it, without the context or understanding if there was intention to intertwine her desire to steal these bodies or steal the powers and, have these bodies left for death. Like, just the act of her doing this without any of that, like, it does feel like it is very selfish, like sometimes an addictive behavior can be. It does feel self-serving and self-gratifying. It feels like you're ignoring other things, and you do see her essentially ignoring her son. She gives him moments, but she's not giving him everything. And that time was short-lived, and she decided to spend it differently. Right? Again, if there was a context or a reason to add more that she's doing it for a purpose for death, then that's a missed opportunity. But that's how it plays, like you said, Nate. How it plays on the screen is that she was really, like, her guilt is in the fact that she wasn't a mom. It's like she wanted more time when there was no time left.
And it's just intriguing to sort of see the difference then between Agatha as a mom and Wanda as a mom, right? And that's sort of very stark. And so it's going to be, and it is going to be interesting as we go forward, and like we'll talk about when we talk about the future of sort of, how does that work? How does that work in terms of where Agatha ends up, and But I do want to just mention the writing one more time here, because a great liar has to blend truths with half truths, and I think that to keep a ruse going, Agatha is really talented at that. But you go back to the moment when she's asked, "You walked the road before, how many did you walk with?" And she just says 2, and now we know she walked the road with her son, and that's just so heartbreaking in some ways, and just the fact that she wasn't lying in that moment. She was absolutely telling the truth. And you mentioned earlier, Justin, Catherine Hahn has just been so phenomenal in this series to show her theatric moments when she is lying, and then when she is telling the truth, she goes deep. And in that moment, she goes quiet, yeah. Right, and just holds up 2. She doesn't just say, she's not like, with 2, like it's very, really, really good stuff. So Agatha's funeral for her son ends with a lone witch having heard the ballad, approaching her and begging her to take her to the road. Agatha at first feels disrespected. How dare you? But she realizes she can continue her devious acts with a new ruse, a reusable plan that we see she recycles for generations. We see multiple covens fall for her trap over and over again, into our most recent coven featuring Jen, Alice, Lilia, and Sharon. But before we can continue before she can continue her latest con, she's interrupted. She didn't bank on there being an actual witch's road, but as Teen runs down the stairs, she's confused and then decides to keep her ruse going. So we learn of the long con and just how many generations of witches Agatha has, consumed leading up to our eventual final coven. I think it was a fantastic way to sort of work it all together. Darcy, what did you think of why? We kind of already talked about our ideas behind why Agatha might want to be doing this over and over again. But I also wanted to kind of throw the question out to the group as well. Was there a particular group of witches that you were like, yo, they look badass? I kind of want to I want to see the 80s gang.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Witches again, to be honest with you. But Darcy, what about for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I really love the way that they tied the whole Witch's Road and the origins, because a lot of witch trials and all that stuff in the past were based on hearsay and people going off folklore, and so the idea of this song starting in a tavern, starting this rumor among witches that there's this easy path to power. I love how it all comes back to Agatha and her son, and how she uses that, and again, why she uses it, whether it is to just because she's addicted to the power, whether she's trying to appease death and keep her away as long as possible, or if she's just trying to fill the void that she now lost in her heart. Just maybe I'll be happy with all the power.
Maybe if I have more power. Yeah.
I won't be so upset over Nicholas, or I'll find a way to bring him back or something like that. I love that, and the way that it shows this is what she's been doing for 200 years up until WandaVision was she's just running this long con where generation after generation. And yeah, like you said, my favorite, obviously, the Leather Baker Gang looking witches.
Because the 90s, right? It felt very
was it
90s,
would be more
80s or 90s.
Yeah,
it felt very punk. It felt very
it was definitely punk. It was
So
very, but
cool.
it was very craft. I thought we got some craft references, but that was definitely 100% that look.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the fact that we also got confirmation that I guess that would have been the what are they, the what era is that where they had all the flowery hats? The Victorian age witches.
Oh, yeah.
We kind of got the confirmation in this moment. Like, I had speculated that maybe it was the parents of the Salem Seven, like her coven, that were lining the bodies lining the opening of Agnes of Westview, but it was actually specifically these Victorian age witches that we get to see falling in this montage. I just thought it was a neat little sort of callback and brought me back to being like, oh yeah, the first episode of this series was so good.
So
Yeah.
good.
So
Yeah,
good.
I think this whole this part is really cool. Like Darcy was saying, like the fact that they were able to bring in this idea of like, you know, lore and history that makes the road feel like it's something that witches would do, and you know, it's a road to power and a road to get what you want. Like, I think that's phenomenal to kind of weave that in, and it's like it's not true. It's not true, right? And it really heightens the moment when, you know, the doors, when you go back to the first episode and the doors
Oh my
are
gosh.
there and she's just
You
like,
even see Agatha like coaxing them on in this episode,
Yeah.
but then I went back and like checked episode 1 just to see if it was like a different angle or different. No, it's exactly the same. Like she says the exact same line. She's like, you know, that was so weak. Like you're the like so you know, blasphemy, you bitch.
yeah,
and
she's
then
egging them on, yeah.
yeah, and then I also just loved, and I don't know why we didn't really like pick up on this even when we saw Billy's blue power or whatever revealed, but like the entrance, the portal is blue. Like the portal that they run down is blue. So it's like, yeah, this entire time
it didn't open.
They've
it
been
didn't open until
telegraphing
he came
this.
down, right? Like
Yeah.
it didn't
Right.
open until he came down. So
Yeah.
like, and that just added to all of the elements of like, well, there was
Wait a minute.
always hints,
Yeah.
right? Like there was,
And
always
again, it
hints.
gives you that sort of similar feeling that I had in episode 7 of that feeling that Lilia had in that moment and her realization. We all got to experience that again this time with Agatha and her realization. I just thought really, really well done. Really cool stuff.
Yeah. Is this where we also get to see like moments where she starts like cluing in, or is that coming
Oh
up?
yeah, all her lines. This
Yeah.
little montage where they're like, "Oh, this is all the moments where she knew what's going on."
Yeah.
Even like right when they're about to go down the stairs, she makes eye contact with the camera. It's like, "Oh, here we go again with this hex." On
Yeah,
this."
yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved it. Yeah,
Yeah, I liked that. I liked that there was that one, like there was a line that I remember. I never brought it up, but like, you know, I didn't think you had it in you.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, who was she talking to?
Yeah.
Right. And she was talking to Teen.
To Billy. I
Yeah.
thought she was talking to Death in that moment, right?
Yeah, so did I. And
Yeah.
like the, you know, the wink and stuff like that. And, you know,
And it wasn't just about like the power happening in that moment. It was about the whole road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when she says, you know, when he gets upset about, you know, kind of Alice being dead and that whole exchange there, it just adds so much to it. It's
Yeah.
really, really well done. Really cool. Back in William's room, Billy converses with Agatha, only now she's a ghost. And Megan's cheering because she's super stoked.
I did it.
Because
I
she
guessed
predicted
it.
that's
I
what
knew
was
it.
gonna that was probably gonna happen. Agatha attempts to slap Billy while she's still figuring out the rules. Billy asks if he made the road, and she explains that unlike his mother, Wanda, he actually did something interesting with his powers. Burn. She explains her con and the song and how the road wasn't real until Billy made it real. Billy comes to the realization that he's somewhat responsible for Alice, Lilia, and Sharon's death. And Agatha says, you know, if you actually do the math on these things, you actually saved a life. And then we see Jen emerge from the ground as she claws herself out. We saw this in the trailer. She stands up, she faces the glowing sun, and she flies to her freedom. So, you know, Megan, you're super stoked. I want to ask you what you thought of Agatha as a ghost, and then I want to open it up to the group to ask if we ever see Jen again.
I jumped out of my chair. I was so excited because I never get anything right. And I just read one comic book, and I'm so glad that they used it and she's a ghost now. It just makes sense. Like we were talking about at the beginning of this, how Alice needed to move on and she was going with Death because she didn't have any unfinished business. She had completed her life's goal. And Agatha will always have unfinished business because of who she is as a person. So I think it's awesome that she is a ghost, and she's technically, again, in the comic books, a spiritual guide for the Scarlet Witch. So it's perfect that instead she's going to be Billy's spiritual guide.
And I also I like the fact that the fact that she is a ghost, and I think it goes back to the line in the last episode that we saw, where it's like, when I die, I never want to see your face. Like the deal that she made was, don't collect my soul when I die. So I don't think death will ever come collect her soul. So it's not that she has unfinished business. It's that death wants
left her
to do
there.
with her now.
Yeah.
She has left
Death
her.
also
She's
hates
in limbo.
ghosts. Like we
You
talked
fulfilled the
about.
bargain. Like
Yeah.
the bargain was, I'm going to get the kid to you and surrender himself, which she did. Like Billy's full on surrender himself to her. So death has to fulfill her promise in that, fine, I won't bother you again when you're dead. So I think that this is a wicked way to have Agatha continue as the ghost that we'll see, whereas other characters have already crossed that veil and maybe won't come back as a ghost. So it's a really neat way to do that. I gotta say though, they could have done a bit better with the look.
Really?
I was just gonna say, I love her
I thought
gray
she looked
hair.
amazing.
The gray hair, no, not that. She looks
Yeah.
great. The effects of her being a ghost,
Yeah.
Sure.
horrible. The Haunted Mansion light on mirror effects look better now.
shoot.
Those are 60-year-old practical effects,
Yeah.
and they look way
Yeah.
better. So like, it's just, to me, it's a bit of a disconnect to watch her, and she's all floaty and wispy. And it's like, you could just stand there. Like if we're talking about the comic that Megan's referencing,
Yeah.
that 2016 run of Scarlet Witch, she's not like all wispy. She's floating and everything like that, but her hands are clasped. She's normal. She's contained. She's not like, oh, I'm all floaty.
Yeah.
It's just that aspect of it. I was like, okay, this is a bit cheesy.
Well, is she
I'm on board
wispy
for
or is she
Ghost.
kooky? Right? I think that's the real question. No, I hear you there, and I think this show, we talked about the budget on this show. I think, but I loved her kind of being the comic book version of herself, and I had mentioned that it would be pretty cool to see if they could satisfy the comic book side of things while also honoring this as an original story. And I think for the most part they pulled it off. Justin,
Just not with death.
correct? Yes,
No, right.
Sure. But Justin, do you think they did the right way with her being a ghost?
Well, they did it their own way, right?
Yeah.
Like I haven't read the comics, so like I don't know the trajectory, but I like this idea of giving a history to Agatha to then put her in this place where she is a ghost and a spiritual guide for Wiccan, not the Scarlet Witch, right? So again, it's this idea of remixing and doing their own thing with what's been given to them from the comics, but making sense of it and doing it their own way in the film. So I think it's definitely very cool that they've been able to find a way to get Agatha to that place.
Yeah.
Because even when Agatha was, when Catherine Hahn was suspected to be Agatha before it was revealed, everyone's like, oh, well, she's a ghost. And then they were thinking, well, she could be a ghost in this. Like, we don't know that she's actually, but like everything was coming out with the hex and stuff. But no, she's a physical person and so on and so forth. So now we've gotten to that point where people do know that Agatha is a ghost and she's there. So it'll be interesting to see the visual effects. Yeah, I do agree with you, Darcy. I think that this is where the budget shows. I think that I think for a show that has such celebrated practical effects, I do think that the visual effects from the computer generated side feel a little cheap. And I know that that's really bad to say because I know it takes a lot of time to do that. But
and who knows how much time they were given, right?
Mm-hmm.
These
And
right?
also it's allocation of money and funds at the end of the day. And I can see that money was spent obviously in the practical and making things very, tactile and real, like those houses. And then obviously the road was a full sound stage that they walked around. So it's like, I understand that there's a lot of effort there, but yeah, it did come off a little cheap. Do we see Jen again though?
Yeah.
I think we will. I do think we will. I think that there's a very likely chance. Again, I do feel like this might get into theory territories, but I do think that it makes sense for a lot of what we've seen here to kind of somehow show up in a Doctor Strange 3.
Yeah. At the Comertage,
or
right?
something
Well,
related to Werewolf by Night, like along
Yes,
those
there you go.
mystic side of
Even
things.
that side of the world, Blade would be
Moon
really
Knight would be
good.
cool
That's
to
not
see them
happening
pop
anymore,
up.
is it?
Well,
Yeah,
it seems like it still is, but we there's no
He'll
no
show up
hard
in
announcement.
What If, but yeah.
But
For
yeah,
sure.
Moon Knight is also an option.
For sure, exactly.
Ooh.
I just think that there's
That'd be cool.
opportunity for Jen to show up and that character to be explored even more, especially given how again, we talked about it. She seemed so integral. What did Lilia call her? The High Priest? High Priestess.
High Priestess.
and also
Yeah,
the path forward, right?
The path forward. So like I feel like there's a purpose to her character that could be explored. It's just up to someone else in the sandbox to pick up that character and do something with it. But yeah, I think it would be nice. Like even the way she took off and stuff like that, it felt very like strange. You know what I mean? Like,
I also wonder if there could be potential for her to be in Vision Quest, right?
Yeah?
I think it's a really interesting idea.
Actually, yeah, that's
right?
that's probably the most logical place to have her, and
like Boner
to
carried
go
over from one series to another. It's like maybe they don't.
Boner will go into the third.
He has to be in all of them.
He has to be in all of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But I
they
do
have-
think the idea of Jen showing up in Vision Quest could be really cool because
Yeah,
I
that
do
works,
think the
yeah.
idea of Vision Quest doing its best to stay away from Westview and Eastview. And I think right now that's what Jen wants to do. I think she wants nothing to do with Westview and Eastview. So I think she's no longer doing her shop. She's no longer doing anything like that. She's like, I'm going to start a whole new life. And so, I think that has a lot to do with what Vision Quest also could have to do with is the idea of sort of starting a new life and what have you. But again, we're getting into theory territory. Do we want to let's keep going here. So Agatha tells Billy that if he wants to be a witch, he's going to have to get used to this feeling, which was interesting, her having to say the same thing to her own son. He retorts that he'll never get used to this, and Agatha quietly responds with, "We'll see." Maybe. Then, back at Agatha's house, Billy sneaks into her basement to see the door is still aglow, the door to the Witch's Road. Agatha apparates and asks him what he, what's up? What are you up to? And she also asks him for her brooch back, but he ignores her, and he sets up a ritual to banish her forever. Agatha tries to stop him. She tries to take the brooch back, and it's only after revealing the truth that she can't face her son does Billy realize why she can't leave. She manages to knock the brooch from his hand, and she picks it up, and Billy reassures her that her son would forgive her for whatever she's done. She says, "It's when you say things like that you remind me of him." She says they could make a good team, and Billy and reminds Billy that she does tend to kill her coven members, and he's like, "So do I." And then he removes the door from the ground, replacing it with the names of those they lost along the way: Sharon Davis, who? Oh yeah, Sharon Davis, Alice Wu Gulliver, and Lilia Calderu. Agatha says one door closes, and Billy finishes her sentence by saying, "And another opens." And at the end of a trial, a door of light opens up at the end of the stairway, and Agatha turns to Billy and says, "Let's go find Tommy." And they walk through into the light. And that is the end of Agatha All Along. Let's get into kind of our final overall sort of thoughts on this episode, as well as our predictions, if you will. For the final time, I want to ask, what did you think of Billy's decision to join with Agatha, the ending of this series, and which, please, tell me the future, Megan?
Which, please. I think that, again, like we talked about, Agatha being the spiritual leader for Wiccan is a really cool way to call back to the comics, but do their MCU thing and change it up a little bit. I'm interested to see where they go. I don't really have any predictions on this because I don't think we're really gonna get this. We're not gonna get, I guess that's my Witch Please prediction. I don't think we're going to get the story of Agatha and Billy finding Tommy. I think it's, if it is, it's in a flashback, or it's like a short blip before introducing them into the Young Avengers world, unless another project is in the works that we don't know about. Would love to see an animated version of this. I think that would be super cool, because I know that a lot of animation is on the forefront for us all. I found it very interesting that she said that the reason she can't go is because she doesn't want to face her son. So maybe that is also part of her agreement with Rio.
Sure.
Is I don't want to face my son, so you can't let me die.
Yeah.
And that's why she gave her herself instead.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. Gave her her body, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotta say, I think I just was so let down a little bit by these last two episodes that I just like went, okay, well that's that, and moving on.
Okay. Yeah, I think with her, having that incredible performance moment, I think with her saying like, because I can't face him, from Catherine Hahn, I did think that was really, really powerful. And I think, given all the stuff that we've been talking about, one thing that I'm not entirely sure of is like, how do spirits like would he still be a little kid? Because we heard his little kid voice, or would he be like older, like facing her son at the age that he is? Would it really be that difficult? Only because, like, in my mind, it's like if he's old enough to recognize what she did to him, how she used him.
It's not what it is, though.
No,
that's not what it is. I think it's
her own shit.
Exactly.
It's her continuing
For
to
lack
kill
of a better
witches
term.
and all that.
Okay.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's when you look at the kid, you
Yeah.
recognize what you did.
What you did.
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm.
Right. So to the point, like I think it's more about her.
Okay.
Right. It's always been about her. Right. So
Darcy,
that's part of her opinion.
which please?
Which, please, I don't really, again, not much theories going on because, again, I'm on the same page as Meg, whereas as cool as it would be to see, like, Vision or the Vision series through, Billy and Tommy and Agatha being like, okay, got Tommy and let's go find your dad now or whatever because your mom's still out of the question for whatever reason. Or, I don't know, it's as cool as as much as it does set up, like, the future of, like you said, maybe a Young Avengers or whatever, where we are at the MCU, there's no like logical place where these characters would pop up next unless it is Vision. And by that point, I feel like it'd be weird to go and do a whole Find Tommy quest in that story when it's supposed to be about Vision. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really sure what's next, really. So I like everything that the story set up, with the exception of how they handled the relationship between Death and Agatha and how that wasn't explained. Everything else I feel like was very justified and satisfying ending. And like you said, maybe we'll see Jen again, but where, I don't know. It's the where and when of it all I don't really get.
It's tough, for sure.
Yeah.
Justin, which
Please.
please,
Let me tell you.
please.
Okay. Like I honestly think at some point we could see,
Okay,
these
please.
two. No,
Yeah, you're like a Toronto man.
Toronto man.
A Toronto
yeah.
man's witch.
Yeah. So like witch, like please, okay? No, Jesus, I can't even do it. That.
I wouldn't.
No, I honestly think we could see them show up in either some sort of credit. The fact that also just side note here, the fact that this show didn't have some sort of end credits stinger.
Yeah.
Interesting. But also, I don't think all shows have had that, but I may stand corrected. I could see Agatha and Billy showing up in that show, if not for an episode, a sort of credit stinger about like them getting back together. But yes, I think the main thing that this does is it puts Wiccan on the board for a future Young Avengers, which we know is down the road. That's an easy get. That's an easy decision to make. There are some players on there. I'm now, as much as I was against the idea of Boyf being what's it called, Hulkling, I think that it's very possible now, especially given how many people were just like so stuck on that alien statement. I'm like, well, I guess it could be true now, but like, I don't know. I think that there's things that this world has given us that I think we will come back to, and I don't know in what facet. I do think that it does make sense for Doctor Strange to have some of these elements to introduce some of these characters, and yeah, like Jack Schaefer has just done such a great job with the show and keeping it very consistent. I feel like if she's not working on Vision Quest, I heard that she was, and then she's no longer working on it. I feel like she's got to be working on something else. And I honestly would love it to be a Wanda Maximoff movie. I think that's like makes the most sense. I think she's trying to answer questions, because the one thing that Nate and I you and I were talking about it the other night is just like during the press for the show, she was asked about just like why didn't you show Wanda at the front, but she was very frazzled with that question and how to answer it and how to approach it. And I'm wondering if it's because she's in amidst right now trying to answer some of those questions, how to connect those dots, and so on and so forth. She was also asked like something about, did Wanda ever walk the witch's road, right? Like, it's like yes and no, I guess, right? Because it's kind of like a hex mentality that exists around it. So you could kind of argue that there is a bit of that, and no, she didn't. All this to say that I think, the idea that the mention of Wanda kind of got Jack a little kind of like, shifting shoulders could mean something, could mean that she's in some way involved in bringing that story to life. And I think we got to get to Vision before we get to Wanda's film. I don't know if that's it. And I think that it's just a matter of time before there is an announcement, probably, leading into, I think it's going to happen before Secret Wars, though. I do think that something will.
That would make
come
sense.
out.
Yeah,
it would help to lead into Secret Wars too. And I don't know if Secret Wars is the reintroduction of Wanda, and then after is a movie for her.
I think it actually has to happen before Doomsday is where I think it would need to take, because I think there's
then
a
it's
lot
not going to
tied
happen.
to.
Then there's not
No?
going to happen. No,
Okay.
there's too much stuff already on the board. But like I know that there's a lot of connections between Wanda and Doom, but I wonder if we will see another Wanda amongst the multiverse with Doom that will reintroduce her. No, I still think it'll be
Megan's like Elizabeth Olsen or nothing.
Well, she also has said that she wants to figure out how to get back in there.
Yeah.
Right, of course. But I 100%. I'm not saying that they're going to recast. I'm just
Thank
saying
you.
we're not going to get our MCU
Megan was so
resurrected. Elizabeth Olsen. Like
Yeah.
I think they bring her back for Doomsday, and she's part of it, and she's intertwined in whatever that is because she's integral in the comics. So
She sure is.
could be very interesting.
Well, and again, just also the whole Wiccan finding his family in the comics again is heavily centered around Doom and how Doom is marrying Scarlet Witch and all this stuff at the time. So there is a heavy, like, again, you mentioned there's a big connection between Doom and Scarlet Witch, and there is even beyond the whole magic thing of it all. And I think if the MCU is going to go down a different almost love triangle, if you will, with Scarlet Witch and Vision, I think it would make more sense to do Doctor Doom than Wonder Man, even though we did just get to see our first look at that. I don't think Wonder Man
excited
had
for
anything to do with Scarlet Witch or Vision or anything
but
like
that also doubles it up, right? Like if Vision has a purpose to fight in this whole thing for Wanda, to get Wanda back, I don't know, like that could be it too. The boys get back together, right? You know what I mean? Like, I just wonder if that's where it is. It becomes a fight for their mom, right? Like to bring their mom back. So
Maybe
I don't know.
Vision falls in love with Trevor Slattery, right? Like we all have.
Yes.
Possibly. It was great to see him in the Wonder Man trailer or teaser that we got as well. No, for sure.
Just don't let Michael Waldron write it. I'm sorry.
Hey, oh, jeez. Apologies to our listeners. Beautiful little ears. Or big ears. You might have big ears, too. Somebody asked me which, please.
Which, please, Nate? What's happening for the future?
Hey, witch over there, please.
Please. Yeah. Okay. Listen, so I thought that Billy was a little... At first, I thought he was too flip-floppy in these episodes. Like... I'm a fan of Agatha. I'm not a fan of Agatha. I love Agatha. I want to kill Agatha. Blah blah blah. But I think the moment they both realize that they've both done terrible things, that alignment really does make a lot of sense and really does sort of get really, really powerful. And then I think it was a little cheesy. The kind of like. Like I kill people and like I kill people too, and like let's take hands and go find Tommy or whatever. I definitely felt the cheese in there. I felt it was a bit rushed, but that doesn't mean I'm not intrigued. I think as far as the future, I think this ending was interesting because it really did make me. We were going into these episodes sort of feeling like, oh well, Vision Quest is where we're going to explore the story of Tommy, and I just wonder if if they actually do go that route or if they don't. To your point about not seeing Agatha and Billy going off to find Tommy, I think I really actually do like that. I like the idea that Tommy's story kind of is his own thing. And I'm also wondering if, as I mentioned earlier, like this is going to be him and White Vision sort of sharing in the sentiments that in kind of in a weird way, they are both estranged from the same family kind of idea, right? And then, this show does such a great job, for the most part, of dealing with finding one's identity and figuring out one's identity. And I think that would be a great sort of thing to carry over from this series, right? We've gotten stuff that and tones and elements of WandaVision brought into Agatha. I think that we got to do the same thing with stuff from Agatha into Vision Quest. So I'm wondering if that's going to be kind of that idea, and then maybe, like you were saying, Justin, I was like, oh yeah, maybe we get some kind of Wanda movie or what have you.
It'll be a movie. It'll be a movie.
Yeah.
It just
she
makes the most
deserves
sense.
her own movie.
No,
Yes.
I think in a lot of ways, and I was reading recently, like she's the most talked about MCU, most talked about character from the MCU, and she's not even around, right?
Yeah.
Like she's not around, so it's like let's find a way to get her back, and I think that's going to be a real glow up.
I also really want to see what Aubrey Plaza does next in the MCU. I like, Justin, you and I were talking, and you were saying like how sick it would be if she just kind of pops up here, every now and then, just as like almost.
I want
like
to see her and Deadpool together, though.
Yeah.
Like in a
Okay.
So good.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
also just love the idea of her almost being like an R2D2 or C3PO of the MCU, like her just being in certain moments or what have you. I think would be really fun and just a way to continue her story. Because Aubrey Plaza is just so freaking cool. And then I think it's going to be interesting to see where we get to as, collective Wanda fans, because we can't stop talking about her. And you just mentioned that she's the most talked about. We all just want her back with her sons. We want her to have her sons back. But I don't think we're going to get that. Especially right away, and I think it really needs to feel earned. And I think a more interesting story is to tell a story of a young Wiccan denying Wanda of what she really wants. And I love the idea that Wanda gets so hell bent on the fact that Wiccan is with her enemy of Agatha, and thinking that Agatha is influencing him to have this disdain for her. And then having to come to that cold realization that Agatha actually has nothing to do with the disdain that Billy feels for his mom. I think would be really, really intriguing as a story. And I think it would add so much to that element of when we do get a family reunion. And not a boner family reunion, but like a Maximoff family reunion. Because Justin, you mentioned to me the what did you call it? The Incredibles sequence,
Yeah.
right, in WandaVision, and like if we get a remake of that in Secret Wars, bro, like I'm sorry, you best have a moment to pause in that movie so we can all clap and Darcy can be upset because he missed the first line of whatever Wanda says. That's what we need.
No, I do think that if we are going to see Agatha and Wiccan together, it's going to be in a movie form for WandaVision. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Listen, we've reached our 2-hour mark. We're getting pretty far along here. But we've held off from sort of giving any sort of ratings or scores throughout this season of Watch Club, and kind of going forward, I kind of dig it. I kind of think it's great, and then we're going to kind of just end with giving our final thoughts and season rating, if you will. So just kind of our final thoughts on the season as a whole, as well as our rating of the season on a scale of 1 to 5 claimed Coven member bodies. And Megan, I'm going to have you kick us off.
Absolutely. I think episodes 1 through 7, I probably would have given this a 5 out of 5 because every single episode was fantastic and really reminded me why I love Marvel and why WandaVision was my favorite show. I think they did a beautiful job at creating characters that we really got to know and grow close to and create love for. And I really wanted to see their stories play out, and we did get that for the most part. But these last 2 episodes really just kind of fell flatter for me and felt really separate from the rest of the season. So because of that, and even though we did get really great reveals, I also blame Funko Pop for stealing those reveals from us. I think that they did a great job. They've really set Wiccan up to be a young Avenger, or to get more stories out of these characters. Again, really jacked up that I predicted the ghost thing. And I'm intrigued to see where we go, but I have a lot of question marks still, which is not really how you want to finish a show that you know you're not getting more of. So because of all of that, I will have to give this a 3.5 out of 5 claimed Coven member bodies.
Wow, that's a big drop.
Wow. Well, I was not expecting that.
No.
It really felt weird. I felt weird. I think that this conversation has helped a lot in explaining some of the question marks that I had, but I really watched episode 8 and went, we have a whole nother episode. That felt like a finale to me. And then the last episode really just like dragged that down even further. And you could ask my husband, you can ask friends of mine who I've talked to about it. I felt so strange after watching episode 8. I was like, I don't really know how to feel right now. I feel weird. So yeah.
Okay.
4 feels too high for me.
That's okay. No worries. Speaking of sometimes feeling too, actually, I don't think you've ever felt too high.
Yeah, no such thing. No
Darcy,
such thing, my friend.
What did you think of this series, and what score would you give it?
Yeah, I mean, I was right there with Meg when she said episodes 1 to 7 would definitely be getting a 5 out of 5, just because of the characters growth that we got, the depth where they are all such strong characters, not there just to serve a purpose. They all had a reason to be there, and I really enjoyed that. And then again, with these last 2 episodes, I did enjoy them. The biggest flaw is the fact that they mishandled the history between Agatha and Death, where we didn't really get any concrete definition about what the relationship was like, why they got together in the first place, why Agatha continued doing what she was doing. Like, that whole thing really took me out of it and really brought it down, because again, the series has such good writing. When you look at like the way that they, again, one of my favorite reveals is both the fact that Billy made the road, and then that the road was just a song that Agatha and her son made up. Just both those reveals, I think, were really, really cool, and I wasn't expecting them. Again, I came out of these 2 final episodes not really expecting to be where we were, but I enjoyed how we got there, with the exception of Death. So again, taking the whole Death into it all, I think it'll drop that 5 out of 5 to a solid 4 out of 5. What was it? Something Coven
Claimed
bodies?
Coven
Like,
member bodies.
Yeah, so a solid 4 out of 5 claimed Coven member bodies. Again, there is totally a reason to watch this show. Just don't be hoping for some payoff in the Death and Agatha category, I guess.
Interesting. Justin, how about yourself?
Yes. I'm with you guys. I feel like the first 7 episodes were definitely very strong. And I think these last 2 episodes kind of rushed to an ending. Things don't necessarily feel satisfied in terms of addressed, and I think things also feel rushed. But I don't know. Overall, though, I do have a lot to say about the show that I think is positive. I think, Agatha All Along is a great success at bringing us back to the world of WandaVision, but with its own dark and quirky twists. Catherine Hahn as Agatha is phenomenal. She captures such a wicked charm, and I think Aubrey Plaza and Joe Locke are definitely the additional supporting characters that bring intensity, and also just the idea of like the way William is seen as sort of like the heart, and for us as an audience to kind of relate to in some instances, while Plaza is really the intensity of Death. Jack Schaefer, I don't know. I think she's so good at storytelling. It's layered. It reminds me, this show reminds me a lot of some of like the old school TV mysteries that we would get, like a Lost, like a Twilight Zone, just these things that are just very mystery box heavy. She keeps you guessing, and she makes it about the characters, and it's not just about the action. It's really is about the character. We've talked about it, but there's just that one area that feels very, very thin. Is the and through the exploring of Agatha and Rio's relationship. I just feel like a little more context around their connection could have given the final episodes the punch it needed to feel truly satisfying and really making the story's arc memorable. Because in a lot of ways, I feel like this show at its core is a focused character story about Agatha and her relationships that define her. It's going beyond just the dynamic of Rio and death. The relationship that Agatha has to death beyond just Rio, but like the loss of her son. I think diving into her past was smart. It just wasn't handled well. Like I don't really know. And we're meant to feel this sense of heartbreak for her losing her son throughout this entire season. And when we get to this flashback, it just feels so rushed. But I still think that they stay focused on this idea of the choices she's made along the way and how they've impacted her. It's this vulnerability that adds a complexity to Agatha, making her not just a villain, but a fully realized character haunted by loss and regret. And I think Catherine Hahn brings that character to life so well. I think this angle gives this series an emotional depth, even though it might have missed the mark in some cases. It really does highlight Agatha's journey, and it resonates as well as entertains. And I think that's such a testament to the writing and the entire team behind it that was very thoughtful in the process of bringing this story to life in a very honest way. For those things that I really enjoyed about it, again, the entire cast, the practical effects, everything about it, I think there's a 5 out of 5 episode in here. I think most of these episodes are anywhere between a 4 to a 3.5. So I'm going to be giving this one a 4 out of 5, whatever Nate said it was.
Claimed Coven member bodies. I wrote it down and everything.
Coven member bodies.
Nailed it.
Nate, I'm itching to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. This show, I think, was brilliant in so many ways. And I think we've talked about so many different ways that it shined. And I think it was one of those things where, this series, up to these first 7 episodes at least, we were hearing like so many people that had been saying like, Marvel, I'm back with Marvel because of this. Even Megan, I think you had
definitely
said
it a couple times.
This has got me back, kind of thing. And I think it definitely did that for a lot of people. I think having seen the entire thing, like we talked about, I would have loved more time with some of these characters. I would have loved more time with Agatha and Rio to make that resolution. I think it was still sad, but I think it just there could have been so much more to that final moment between them. And I think the final moments of this series showcase a few negative elements that have plagued the MCU since they started doing these shows, right? And that's the rushed final moment, or even to a certain degree, I like the dialogue back and forth between them, but the flashy, glowy power fight. I mean, how are we not done with doing that sort of thing, right? And I'm happy that they didn't, do that for too long, but to even just do it even just a little bit just kind of reminded me of like, oh yeah, I remember when we didn't like all that stuff happening. Okay, so I think though, with all those flaws, there are so many things with this series that it makes up for those flaws with, right? The music. I still get chills when I hear Alice belting out the ballad. Like going back to that episode and hearing her belt out the ballad with the demon on fire on her shoulders. It's just such an incredible visual. It's such an incredible moment, and it's such an incredible song. The music in this series is fantastic. I think the sets, the costumes, they're intricate, they're silly, they're fun, and they're also perfectly detailed in a way that also tell parts of the story, which is so cool to get in your costume design. I think the performances, again, every single one of these cast members, I was like, they've got at least 1 or 2 standout moments. And I think especially Patti LuPone in episode 7 will forever be ingrained as just one of the most phenomenal performances in an MCU thing. And I think that episode is going to be one of the best MCU anythings in history for sure. I think they had huge shoes to fill coming out of WandaVision, right? In an era that we're kind of in the tail end of Marvel overload. Right. Yeah. And so for for me going into this, we talked with shout out to Eric Marchin about, the idea of this series being produced during Marvel overload, and the fact that this was able to punch so high above its belt coming out of that, I think it gives it I need to give it a lot of commendation for that, right? And I think it's kudos to Marvel for bringing Jack Schaefer back on to do this series. Kudos to the entire writing staff, everyone involved. I just thought it was, I just think it was so excellently produced. But I agree, obviously, with some of the ways that it drops the ball in these final 2 episodes. I had so much fun, and I had so much fun having that feeling of speculating, right? Like Justin said, it brought me back to Lost feelings, right? And that's huge for a mystery box show, and it brought me back to WandaVision weekly. I remember even just saying, like, it's so cool that we're, like, digging through these episodes, which is not something we've really been doing in these past Marvel series that I've definitely given a 4 to in the past. So I'm happy to be giving this a 4.5 out of 5 claimed Coven member bodies. I just think for what it gets wrong, it gets so much right in return that I was able to kind of be okay with that. And it's just, again, it did things for me that no Marvel series has ever done. And I think that's really, really cool. Again, I would have loved a perfect world where every one of us was giving this a 5 out of 5 because of the phenomenal sort of last 2 episodes, but I think it definitely deserves some really great accolades, and I think it's going to get them. So yeah, I think they should be proud to have this as their officially, technically first show under the Marvel Television banner. But that is it for this week's Watch Club for Agatha All Along. That's it for this Watch Club for Agatha All Along. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts, if you haven't already. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts or predictions on the shows we cover, or maybe your thoughts on these final 2 episodes in this entire series, well, let me just get Darcy to haunt your ears as he tells you how you can reach us.
Of course, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if that's too much like having a witch steal all your power and leaving you as a desiccated corpse in the forest floor, you can reach out to us on X at GeekcentricYT and Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Absolutely.
We also have permission to call it Twitter now.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Darcy, you didn't know. We call it Twitter now. Because
it's Twitter.
Whenever I do call it X, I do feel like a desecrated corpse left on the forest floor or whatever you said.
Desiccated.
Desiccated. Wait, is
Yes,
there
no
you know
moisture
the
left.
difference? Yeah, okay. You're science.
No moisture left if you're desiccated.
No moisture left, and we love moisture. Speaking of that, we can also use your moisture to reach out to us on our Discord. Don't use your moisture. You can reach out to us on our Discord. We got a link in our description. You can jump in and chat with us. We got a channel open about Agatha, and I'd love to know your thoughts on like sort of where are we going with this? What's next? When do we see? What are we going to see in Vision Quest? And what's next for these characters. Keep in mind, we also have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, including our recent spoiler-free reviews for Venom: The Last Dance, which I'm sure was great. We also have our spoiler-free reviews for The Wild Robot, Transformers 1, our initial thoughts of Agatha All Along, and HBO's The Penguin. We also have our D23 episode where we talk about our experience at D23 and getting to see Agatha and her coven perform live on stage. We also have some fantastic interviews from over the summer. But of course, the one that you want to check out, if you haven't already by now, check out our interviews with Agatha herself, Catherine Hahn, as well as Joe Locke, Wiccan, and showrunner and director, executive producer Jack Schaefer. We talked about the music in this series, and we talked about, if Catherine and Joe could see their characters team up with like any other character in Marvel for a Broadway musical, who would it be? They got some Catherine's got some good answers. I thought Joe could have done a little better. You can catch those interviews here on your podcast service. He picked the right answer. Obviously, it's tough because the moment he says anything, people are just going to be like, I think he said that this was going to happen. So I get it. You can catch those interviews on your podcast service of choice or watch them over on YouTube at youtube.com/geekcentric. Be sure to subscribe there if you haven't already. And you can keep up with all the wonderful stuff we have coming at you in the chilly but cozy geek holiday coming up. Ooh. My lovely coven, Darcy, Megan, Justin. Thank you so much for joining me for this Witch Club. And for one final time, follow me, my friend.
To glory at the end.